Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another video. Give you guys some time to come in. I am drinking my famed turmeric drink. This time I added protein powder. Hi, baby. Hi, Nut Bucket. This time I added protein powder. You want to come up? This time I added protein powder because I need some extra protein today. So today we are talking about how to avoid spiritually corrupt men in dating. And this has stemmed from, number one, having a lot of conversations with women in person about dating um, and marriage and relationships and all that other stuff. And also because Love is Blind season 6 is a hoot. If you guys have not watched that, you need to watch it. And with Risa Tisa's TikTok, there's just a lot of conversation online about relationships, dating, choosing men out of desperation, all of that. So, oh my gosh, it's like storming out here. So I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk to you guys about my own experience with a form of Legion. I want to talk about my own experience with a form of a Clay. If you guys don't know who I'm talking about, it's okay. I'm going to share with you guys sort of like the characteristics of these men. And then I want to give you the practical tips to avoid these kinds of men and the things that I did, because there's like three types of women. There's women who, dated their high school sweetheart and married him. There's women who were taught how to select healthy men. They didn't have any trauma, so they didn't have an issue identifying healthy men. And there's women maybe like you or me who either has known someone who has dated an unhealthy man or was married to an unhealthy man, or has experienced some kind of trauma, right, with dating. So anyway, let me tell you about Clay and Legion. So Legion was this person. That's not his real name, but that's what we're calling him on the internet. And he was dating Risa Tisa. He married her. He was paying all of her bills. And on the onset, looked to be a decent guy. Come to find out, he was lying about his role. He was pretending to make phone calls to people. He said he worked at a place he didn't. He was promising her trips and BMWs. He lied about going to San Diego State. He lied about playing football. He put the wrong social security number on her marriage license. Just so many. He was just a liar, right? Like, and come to find out, he actually has mental illness, like a serious, I believe it's schizophrenia, and he wasn't taking his medication. And she ended up marrying this guy. She had a child. She was pregnant and had a miscarriage. And so this man, took time and energy away from her life and turned out to just be a con artist. Had been married 3 times or 2 times before that. Lied to her about having a kid who had COVID until she was giving him money. It was a mess. Okay. At the end of her series, she says, I was desperate. I was desperate. I wanted it to be my turn so bad. And I can relate to that. Yep, I can. I can relate to wanting it to be your turn so badly. And I'm going to talk about why we put ourselves in that situation and how we get there and what conditioning happens, why we get there. So Clay is on the show Love is Blind. And Clay, first thing he says when they get in the pods, which is, so in Love is Blind, there's pods. You're in pods. You can't see each other. You're supposed to get to know each other outside of physical appearance. That's why it's called Love is Blind. And the question is love truly blind? Can you fall in love with someone without seeing them? That's the whole purpose of the show. And Clay, the first thing he says to his match is, yeah, I basically need to see you. If I'm not attracted to you, it's not going to work. And now that he's out of the pods and they're together in real life, he keeps talking about how he's going to cheat, how his family has cheated so many times before. How he's like, I need you to help me. I need you to fix me. I'm going to be a better man for you. And he repeats this over and over again. And I made a TikTok, you guys, about this. My TikTok is Joanna Joy, Joanna Joi. And it is like absolutely blown up because I talked about how he is training her. He is training AD, who's his partner, to accept cheating, to accept being less than, to accept his subpar behavior, because he's saying, hey, I warned you. And how men will tell you about themselves if you just listen. And so Clay is not ready for marriage, but what he's doing is he's telling her that. He's in so many different words, he is telling her that he's not ready. And a lot of times men tell us that they're not ready, and we stay with them for long, long periods of time, hoping that they'll get ready with us, which is a massive mistake that women make, is hoping that we're going to be the one to fix them. And he tells AD, like, oh, you're making me better. I'm gonna be that man for you. I want to be that man for you. No, 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 no. Nope, 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 nope. Come to me well. Come to me fully assembled. Come to me, you know, like I said on my TikTok, Clay still needs to be assembled. And we've got to stop dating men who are still in the assembly line of manhood. Like, it's one thing if you have been through the assembly line of manhood, you are fully put together and you have some issues. That's one thing, because everybody has their issues. It's really about how broken are you, and like, are you willing to go get help for those things? And so anyway, in my TikTok, the whole premise is what she's so attracted to the fact that he's really cute. Like, I don't find him attractive, which I want to talk about why. I probably would have found him really attractive when I was younger because I was in my trauma and I would have found him attractive, but he's repulsive to me now. And he should be repulsive to any healthy woman, even though his face may be something that's cute. You should be repulsed by his being. You should be repulsed by the way that he talks. And so I want to talk about how to do that today. So I dated a guy, and I think I was like 25, 24, 24 to 27, maybe. I had come back from Korea, so it had to be 25. Doesn't matter. It was before I was 30. And just like Risa Tisa, just like AD, you start to feel like, well, for me, maybe you guys can relate. If you can't relate to this won't make sense to you. But there is this like push to be in a relationship, get married, because a lot of your peers, they graduate college and a year or two later they get married. So there was this like, it was in the air for like marriage and babies to be happening. So there's a group of my college colleagues, peers, I guess, who got married, 2 years out of college. So that's like, or 3 years out of college, by the time they're 25. And so when you're around that age, there is this like desire to be married and like kind of have that experience. And I was so blinded by like my fairy tale love and, you know, fairy tale marriage and all that other stuff. And so I remember I was on dating apps and I got online, and this really, really, he was very attractive to me. Just like Risa Tisa said, Legion was attractive. He was very attractive to me. He is. I mean, he was actually really attractive. And I met him. We met up, and I remember there were just like fireworks, like sparks, like it was just like, wee, wee, wee. Now, if that happened now, I don't know if it would happen now. But what I learned was that was possibly the first red flag. The fact that I was just like completely enamored and completely obsessed. Like, he's so cute and blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, fireworks were going off, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this kind of man would want me. Red flag number two. So we have our first date, and it was like amazing. Like, I was just like, oh, he's so, we went to the movies. Like, that's not a real date, right? But I was just happy to be around a cute guy, and he had a nice car, and he had the looks, right? And I was like, ooh, this is what's good. Like, that's what I want, because no one had told me that character, you have to be dating someone for their character and like their vision and their goals and their spirituality. Like, people will say Christian man, but they don't really tell you what that means, right? So we go on a couple dates. Things are, just fireworks. Like, oh, just like, can't keep your hands off of each other. It's just like, which is not a bad thing. I don't want to say it like that. But the fact that it was just super intense, a lot of psychologists and therapists will tell you that if it's that intense, sometimes it's actually a trauma bond and it's not really a real, that's more of like a chemical thing than like true compatibility. So he and I ended up being together for 3 years. And the whole time, after like 6 or 7 months, it was like, I don't want to get married. But he wouldn't break up with me. He was like, he was telling me, I don't want to get married. He there was at one point where he did not have a job, but he was like pretending. That's why the Legion story like got to me so much, because he was pretending to go to work. Like he would come spend the night like on a Thursday. He'd have to go to work on a Friday. He would go to work. He would drive off in the morning, and I'd be like, oh, he's going to work. And then my maintenance guy was like, he's like at home all day, right? At your house. And I was like, no, he goes to work. And the maintenance guy was like, no, he's like completely lying to you. So anyway, long story short, 3 years go by, and this man was telling me for 3 years that he did not want to get married. But because I was like, I'm gonna fix him, I'm gonna make it work. I'm like, I can just like work my way, like, I work hard and everything else in my life. I can work my way into getting this man to love me. And that man was like, no. So finally, I got the courage to be like, listen, I want to get married, and it doesn't have to be to you, but I want to get married, and we're done. So we ended it, right? That took a lot of courage, because I was like, I want to get married and I want to be, somebody's wife, that whole thing, right? And people were pressuring, when are you guys gonna get married? He's so cute. And that's like, ugh, I hate that when girls do that, because it's like, being cute is not a precursor for being a good husband. Like, does it help? Sure. But what you find attractive often isn't what's good for marriage. So anyway, I come across a couple videos about femininity and womanhood, and I realized that I was trying to earn love, right? Like I wasn't attracted to men who were attracted to me, and I wasn't attracted to healthy men. So I had to go through a process, which is what this video is about, of how to change my affections so that that kind of man is repulsive to me. And I can tell you, let me tell you this first part before I go into how I did it. I had a job about 4 or 5 years ago, and my boss, I was the assistant, he was the head. Oh, maybe that's too much information. uh, he opened his mouth, and my entire body like convulsed. I was like, it was like demonic almost, like, like I'm being dramatic. But what had happened was I felt the same spirit and energy from my clay slash legion, and I was like, oh, I'm like, oh, you're a player, you're putting on a good front, like, just absolutely. I was like, ah, I was like, it was the same spirit in a different person. And that's when I knew. I was like, oh, I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Rebecca, you got engaged yesterday. Ah! That's so exciting. Oh my gosh. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you so much. I feel good today. I feel really good today. I hope you're well. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. So, um, August 30th. Okay, good. Yeah, that's a good fall date. That's so, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. I love love. That's so great. And so, anyway, my spirit was like, this is like, this man is, what's his name? Clay. This man is Legion. And I was like, I'm healed. Because I can spot him from a mile away. And how did I do that? Okay, number one, I did a ton of work on my own self esteem. Oh, you have a baby boy. When is the baby due? When's the baby due? Um, so I did a ton of work on my self esteem, because what I learned from therapy was that I was attracted to men that I had to chase. I was attracted to men who were out of my league. And I know that's like a phrase that women don't like, because it's like doesn't really fit in with like the woman power, girl power movement. But if I feel like they're out of my league, then they're out of my league. So no man is really out of your league. But if you feel that way, then you're chasing him. Does that make sense? So I had to realize that I had really low self-esteem, which meant that a lot of men were out of my league. So if I think that you're out of my league, that means I'm now fighting for you. I'm chasing you. So in and of its in and of itself, that attracts spiritually corrupt men because they love a woman who has to chase them. They love that feeling of being like the prize. And that's tip number 1 is you have to work on your self-esteem so that you recognize if you feel like someone's out of your league, that's fine. Don't chase them. You can have a normal conversation with them, treating them, valuing yourself enough to know that you bring a lot to the table, and that even if he is really attractive and even if he is, really, a spiritually healthy person and he brings a lot to the table also, you have to remember that you have value and that you don't need to earn a man. You don't chase a man. And so I had to really work on my own self-esteem so that I didn't look at men as something to chase, to earn, to love. And because what happens is if you think that a man is better than you reek, you stink, you stench of low self-esteem to them. And the healthy men are repulsed by that, and unhealthy men are like, oh yeah, come on over here. I can run you around and play you like a dog. And that's what Legion did to Risa Tisa. He was like, oh, he could tell that she thought that he was the bomb. She was like, oh, this man's out of my league. And when you do that, they have all the power. And this is not a game. This is just human nature. Every time you see an animal in the wild, and human beings are animals, the woman is selecting the man is peacocking for the woman. Oh, oh, his name is Jason Wilson. Oh, is it? Um, and so what happens is if you don't have good self-esteem, you're going to be you're going to like that. Now, the other thing that I learned in therapy too was that my trauma liked that. So my chemical reaction was so strong to this man because I knew that he was toxic. So, and I liked it. Like that's what I thought I was worthy of. I was worthy of that. And the other thing, um, and you have to be careful when you meet someone and there's like these like super fireworks, because like I said before, that's chemical, it's not real. Those chemicals are not what sustain a relationship. What sustains a relationship is the same values, some of the same interests, having similar lifestyle, similar goals, um and having accountability to God. Those are the things that matter. And so um for me, I had to learn how to just be like, okay, that feeling doesn't necessarily mean anything. And we get it once we feel that as women. A lot of times we go, yes, oh my gosh, he's the one. I have this because the fairy tales have told us that that's a good man. And so I had to stop with that. I had to stop thinking that the fireworks were what was going to be that make it exciting. Should you feel attracted to your person? 100%, you should. But I love the idea of growing in love with someone, meaning you love them for who they are, they're attractive to you, and as you get to know them, then you're like, wow, this person is super amazing because of their qualities. So that leads me to number 3. In our society, a lot of women move very quickly with men. And that doesn't even just mean sleeping with them. That means they go on a date with someone, they cut off all other men, and then they're all of their energy and their focus is on this one person. In Legion's case, they were moved in within 2 weeks because she didn't want to spend COVID alone, which means that she didn't even have a chance to evaluate this man. So this is where the spiritually corrupt thing comes in. I had to learn to evaluate men. So when I was dating, I sat back and watched a lot. I watched how they behaved. And I had my list of behaviors that were unacceptable and list of behaviors that were acceptable and list of values that were acceptable and list of things that were not. So to me, if I don't have a child, a man with a child is almost immediately a red flag. And that's because if your child is not living with you and you're not taking care of that child, that means you probably won't take care of mine. You're liable to do the same thing to me. Now, if you have a child and you have full custody of that child and you are, or mostly custody of that child, and you are in their life and you're a full blown father, that's a different story. But like watching how they relate. I remember when I was dating, rotational dating, one guy, his daughter lived in LA. And I thought, are you kidding me? No, nope. You should be in LA then, or she should be up here. Do you see what I'm saying? So evaluating men is really important. So here are some things that I did to evaluate their spiritual bankruptcy. Number one is I did not allow them to get into my personal space. Okay. That means I had boundaries, like physical boundaries. You can tell very easily if a man is spiritually bankrupt, if the first thing that he's interested in is your body. And I know that it sounds like oh, this Christian jargon, but I'm telling you right now, men who are quick to get in your pants are problematic. They are, because they don't value women. They don't value women as women. They value getting in your pants. You're a prize, something to overcome. Now, I'm not saying they aren't going to try, but if they're getting upset about not getting in your pants, that's a sign. And so you have to be able to watch them. You have to have strong boundaries. That means they're not coming over and spending the night at your house. You guys are not sleeping together. This is a Christian channel, so we don't do that over here. So you should be, especially within like a short time frame, you guys, like you don't know this person, you don't know what diseases they're carrying, you don't know anything. So to be giving yourself to someone who you don't know, that's the biggest thing. That is the biggest thing that happens in these relationships, is you give yourself to someone and then you're emotionally attached. You are like stuck on them, stuck on stupid. You can't even see, because of the chemicals in your brain, what's going on. So number one, having physical boundaries. Number two, give distance. Give them some distance so you can watch how they act. Let's say you go on a first date and that you can talk and whatever, but don't spend like every day with them. You know, give them some space, give yourself some space to really reflect on how you feel versus just going right into it without thinking about it. That was big for me, is okay, let me step back. And I had like a 3-month rule. Like I would not get exclusive with anybody. And I actually ended up never being exclusive. I rotationally dated up until I was married. So there was no exclusivity because I wasn't having sex. So it didn't matter. I was not exclusive at all. But if you're going to be exclusive, give it 3 months before you are exclusive. Continue to date other men. And date doesn't mean have sex with. Date means actually get to know other men. Because what this does is it helps you to evaluate different kinds of men. Even if you're not that interested, you might find yourself being like, wow, this guy I'm really interested in, something's off about his character versus that man. And people are like, oh, men do it all the time. They compare all the time. And in other cultures, this is very normal for you to be dating multiple men and just getting to know them so that you can really get an idea of what's out there. If you just automatically attach yourself to someone, you have blinders on. And that's what happened with Risa Tisa and AD. They have blinders on because they attach themselves to a man before getting to know him. Like, watch how he moves. Watch how he relates to his friends, relates to his mom, relates to women. Stalk him on social media. Figure out who this person is. Like, I Google people. I do. I Google people. I look at the name that's on their credit card when they pay for things. Absolutely. Because people can present whoever they want online. I mean, see if you guys have mutual friends. Like that's normal. Have your friend, evaluate them from afar. I have a friend, you guys. It's sick how good. Uh, I have a couple friends. How good they are at reading people's energy through pictures. Like they have said, "Oh, that one's hollow in the eyes. I'm not about it. Like there's something dead about his eyes." And I'm like, "Okay, good to know. Let me take notes." You see? So you have to be able to take a step back and evaluate people. That's really, really important when you're dating, because you can watch and see what they, how they behave, instead of jumping right in and now you're like, oh, he's so cute, he's mine, and you're like, that's my man, and now everything he does is golden, and he's like, oh, I don't have to do anything. Let's talk about Christian men. There's a verse in the Bible that says everybody who says Lord, Lord is not. Wait, well, let me get it right. Hold on. Every man who says Lord, Lord is not saved. Hold on. Let me get it right. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter to the kingdom of heaven. So these men will go around calling themselves Christians. Okay. Do they go to church by themselves, like without a woman? Do they go to church? That is important. That's very small. Do they go to church? Do they read their Bibles? Like Christians are supposed to be studying their Bibles. Do they read their Bibles, or are they a la carte Christians, as the internet calls them now, where they just, like Clay in the show, you guys, quotes the same Bible verse over and over again. I'm like, boy, you ain't never opened that Bible in your life. Maybe you have, but it's so obvious that he does not. He's not. That's not the life he's living. Okay, are they pompous and arrogant, or are they humble? Because men of God are submitted to God. And when you're submitted to God, you don't have that same air about you, because you understand that you're not all that, okay, and a bag of chips. So are they humble? Humble men are good men. Men who are submitted to God are good men. Now, how do you know if he's submitted to God? He doesn't run around like his life is his own, like he's just running around doing whatever he wants. He has morals, he has standards, he has values. Okay, his family speaks well of him, his friends speak well of him. And this is why I say, you guys, you have to take time, because people wear masks for a very long time, and you have to be able to see them for who they are. And especially with these guys who go around calling themselves Christian, if they're just, again, picking and choosing things from the Bible, you have to be wary, because some of these men, they do study the Bible and they go to church and they're like, I want a woman who, they want to low key abuse them, because they don't understand the part about mutual submission in the Bible. Mutual submission. They throw that word submission about around there, and they just want to tell you what to do with your life, not understanding that submission is mutual. That's a form of spiritual bankruptcy too, because you don't understand what marriage actually means. So get an understanding of what. Ask this person questions. Get to know how they're thinking. Okay, see if they know what you're talking about when you're talking about scriptural things, because that is the kind of man who's submitted to God first, and not to whatever the world is telling him is good. Okay. And so I think, like, a lot of people go around calling themselves Christians, but they don't actually live for an audience of one, as I say. Like, they don't actually live for God. They live for what Christianity, like, on the surface can do for them. Like, it makes them look good. It makes them look like they have some, they have some morals and some values, but at the end of the day, they're playing women. They don't provide for their families. They have a bunch of children running around. They treat women like harlots. They don't have morals, standards, they don't have ambitions, they don't have goals. Those are godly traits. Having ambitions, having goals, having respect for women, people who are not going to string you along, honest men. Honest men. And you guys, for the please do background checks on these people. If you don't know them from someone else, do background checks on them. Please run background checks and figure out what kind of person this is, because you can avoid a lot of these issues, like especially with social media. You can search people's friends and who they're connected to, and you're guaranteed to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and you can ask. It's a don't think you're weird for asking about these people, because if they're a good person, people will gladly give you a good word. They'll gladly say kind things about them. If you can, date someone who is within your sphere, meaning people, you know, you can find out about them if you need to. You can find out about them because, you have a friend over here who maybe knows this friend, who knows that friend. That's so important when it comes to dating. It's really, really crucial. So avoiding but above all, not getting involved with a man too quickly is going to be the best thing for you. Not getting involved too quickly. Giving them 3 months, because men who are not serious will not hang around for 3 months. They won't. Especially if they're not getting anything out of it, they will not hang around for 3 months. They'll just, be out because they're like, oh, this is too much work. Men who are serious about you don't mind proving their value to you. They don't mind it. They also don't mind like saying, hey, I don't want a relationship. I'm good. I don't want to get married. They're okay with that. And you've got to watch. And the other thing is you've got to watch your intuition. A lot of Christian women are taught that emotions are bad. And so their God-given intuition has been squashed by preachers and pastors. And that's, honestly, I should have put this in the beginning of the video. That was something that happened to me. So I couldn't even feel that something was off. I didn't even know what that felt like until I got back into my body and I was like, oh, something is off. My gut is never wrong. It's never wrong. So until I was able to go, ooh, something's not right here. Something's not right. Then that's when I was able to be like, oh, this man's off. So if your intuition, even the inkling of something is wrong, take a step back. Take a step back. Don't be so rushed for marriage that you don't take steps back and go, this might be a problem for me. This might be a problem for me. You can do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually what a healthy woman would do. Is you're constantly evaluating and seeing what's happening so that you can make a good decision, because this is not a decision that you should take lightly. This woman's life was ruined. She's telling this story and she's making money off of it now, but her life was ruined by this man because she was so quick to dismiss the things I talked about earlier in this video. And you cannot do that. You cannot dismiss the little things. You have to be like, okay, let's talk about this. I'm concerned about this. Or you can just simply step back and go and take a note to yourself and go, okay, I'm just watching you. I'm watching and seeing how you move. But the most important thing that you can do besides that is understand and value yourself. When women value themselves, unhealthy men are repulsed by you. I attracted unhealthy men when I had really, really low self-esteem. When I started to value myself, they wouldn't come near me, you guys. You are repellent to those kind of men. When you really, really work on yourself, it's really hard. Those men have to be like super good card artists. I will tell you guys one story and then I gotta go. So before I met my husband, I was dating around. So I was like, I had a few guys in my rotation. And one guy claimed, and he was actually, so he was really high up in the military, which is funny because that's always a lie that a lot of like con artists will tell you. Anyway, um, so he, like Legion, was so um like law abiding. He was like the most law abiding, and he was like, it's because of my job. And I just thought, like, I know military people who are like, you know, like high up in the military, and they're not this way. Like, they don't mind. Like, I know someone who's in the Secret Service. Okay, they are not that stringent, but I didn't know that was a red flag at the time. So he was like Mr. Law Abiding. Like, if I even said like, "Oh, I'm just gonna erase this and put this here," "Oh, no, 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 you shouldn't. You can't do that. I don't want to know." I was like, "That's weird." Um, and so he was like military, and he for a few months he did a really good job of like you know, calling me, taking me out on dates, checking in, all that stuff. And one time I called his phone, and it was a Google Voice number. And I was like, that's interesting. But I didn't like, again, I was like, okay, if you're in the military or you don't want your, like, I get it. You don't want people to have your number. You don't, you know, you're meeting random girls. That was red flag number one. Number two, and this is when I was like, this is done. He said to me, and we were not even like together. Like, I was dating other men and he was dating other women. He said to me, I'm going to Colorado this weekend. And I was like, great, like, have fun, you know? And then he sent me a picture from Colorado, and something, and you guys, I've never freaking used Google reverse photo in my life. But something told me to Google reverse. As the Holy Spirit, you guys. See, you gotta listen to that intuition. Something told me to Google reverse the photo. So I put it in Google, and it came back as this famous place in Utah. And I was like, okay, Colorado, Utah, like maybe whatever. So he gets back, and we're having breakfast. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, when was the last time I saw you? I can't. And he goes, oh, you mean since I got back from Utah? And I said, oh, I thought you went to Colorado. And he said, oh, you know, Colorado, Utah. Oh, I get them all mixed up. This man is like military genius, like literally, like he's super smart. Like, honey, you're not mixing up states. You know what I mean? And it was funny because after that, he started trying to pick a fight with me. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this is like textbook crazy. So he started to try and pick a fight with me because he knew that I knew that he was lying. And I was like, this man probably got a whole family because he was saying he was visiting from the East Coast. And I was like, this man got a whole family on the East Coast. And I just cut it off. It was like that. So I tell you that story because they're not always like so bad, right? Like Clay and Legion are really, really obvious. But I just, and I wasn't even looking, you guys, for like anything bad from him. My intuition was on point. My self-esteem had been built up to where I was like, something ain't right. Something ain't right. And I knew, so when I moved to Korea, you guys, I'm going to take this back to the Holy Spirit. Um, I like, I was terrified of airplanes, terrified. So when I got the call to go to Korea, I was like, this something is off because God, you know, I don't do airplanes, let alone flying over an entire ocean in the middle of the night. I, I would have never done that. The fact that I had never used Google reverse image, and I and the Holy Spirit was like, Google reverse image that thing. And I'm like, like what? Reverse image that. And the fact that then the next day he said the same state that he was in, but then it was the wrong, y'all. This is why you have to be on alert. You have to be alert. And it's not this like men are bad thing. It's just like, I don't know you. And because I don't know you, I have to evaluate you because I am making the decision, the biggest decision of my life, which is to get married, right? So I'm not taking it lightly when you tell me that you're going to Colorado, and when the Holy Spirit tells me to reverse Google image, you're in Utah. And when I ask you about it, you slip up and say Utah, you're a liar. You're a liar. And then you go, oh, I didn't know. Honey, you freaking scaled the Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia in the desert. You don't know a map? Baby, that's a lie. It's a lie. You know what I mean? So you guys just have to be careful. Be careful. Be on watch. Be on guard. The walls of the devil are crazy. No, just kidding. Um, but yeah, that's my life for today. You're 34 weeks. Oh my gosh, 6 more weeks. Wait, what's that? That's like a March. Is it March? No, it's March now. It's like April baby. Oh, spring baby. Cute. I'm so happy for you. I'm wishing you a really, really smooth and healthy pregnancy. Um, we are about to maybe start trying here soon. So I wish you a smooth and yeah, healthy pregnancy and hope the baby comes out amazing. Well cooked, well baked, as they say. All right, you guys, if you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like and comment on this video. And I will see you guys in the next one. I'm going to go take my dog out for a walk. And then hubby might be home in a little bit. We'll see. I've got some work to do on my app. You guys, my fitness app is live. I'm super excited. So I'm gonna be able to offer coaching on my fitness app now. So I'm super stoked about that. I'll make a whole nother video about my app on a different day, but I've been working on that really hard. So anyway, you guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. I can't wait to see you next week and have a good one. Bye.